Geweldig. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvarai. Okay, Gavriel, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and joining as we continue our journey through Sefer Likutei Moharan with Torah and Beis. Today's shir is sponsored by Rebbe Nachman, nishmas, his father Avimari Moshe Azriel ben Achavar Ya'akov. Also Yitzchak, Gedalyah ben Ilanit for the zechus of Menashe Gavriel ben Chava and Avraham Shlomo ben Ilanit, and by Zev Klein nishmas, his parents were Barinder Simcha, Ya'akov ben Yeshayahu, the neshama ben Aliyah, also for shidduchim for Yehudis, Adina Bas, Elisheva, Rochel, Dovid ben Fayga, Kayla, Yonatan, Shimon, Adas, and Tano, Micha, Machnaz, Dovid ben Ya'il, Noach, Avraham ben Sarezel, Zev ben Barindel, and all of Klal Yisrael, and also dedicated to zechus for Shlema, for Chaim Yehoshua ben Chaya Miriam. We should only hear B'suras service all around for all Klal Yisrael. Ezras Hashem. Okay, so we jump back into Torah Nun Beis, and we were speaking yesterday toward the end of Shir about the second half of Torah Nun Beis, that after a person really gets clear the whole construct of the way that everything is of Shari HaMetzias chutz mi Mitziyusa Yizbarach, outside of Hashem himself, who's the real, true, necessary extant, right? The Mechuyev HaMetzias, that only Hashem really exists. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is truly real, right? In the ultimate sense, OTR, the only true reality. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a ratzon to create Klal Yisrael, and Klal Yisrael need a world. And the purpose that Klal Yisrael need a world for is to be able to be megale Yichudei Yizbarach through the world. So then Mamela, in as much as each one of us is aligned with our mission, so then the world becomes real, right? We are real, and the world becomes real. If we choose to be drawn down to the world, which is the third link in the chain, away from the first link, right? That not only is our sort of we drawn down, but we were the link connecting everything to the Mechuyev HaMetzias. Everything just drops into the abyss, right? The world along with us. And so we have to realize in the context of Torah and Beis that our avodah is much more than just for us alone, right? Really, the whole world is tali on us. Goes back to Torah, was it Dalit? Torah Hey. I always forgot which Torah it was. Maybe if I had a tab in there, it would help me, I guess. Right in the beginning of Torah Hey, right? Every person needs to say B'shvili nevra olam. What does that mean? The whole world needs us, right? The world needs each one of us activated so that we can do our role as part of the priesthood nation and part of the priesthood sect within humanity, to be able to really care for the world, to engage with the world in a way that the world becomes more real as a result, and not chas v'shalom the opposite, where we become less real because the world seems less real, and then everything falls away from being infused by the Mechuyev HaMetzias. Once we spoke about that, so then the Rebbe wants to let us know, how does a person accomplish that? How are we zoche to be yachzar uli kalal ba'achtas Hashem Yisbarach? That we should make the appropriate choices in this world, in a world like we learned again and again of Tumah and Tahara, choosing Tahara, thereby activating the reality of Kedusha, which is clarifying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's choice to create was really nisratze, right? It was a choice minei ubei, in a fundamentally essential sense, because from that standpoint, everything is Mechuyev HaMetzias, everything is Einod Milvado, everything is our Ein Sof, right? Everything is Ritzoni Yisbarach. When we make those decisions later on in our lives, that clarifies the whole thing. How do you do that? How does a person manage to reveal that reality? And the answer is, there's only one way. The way is through bittul, and bittul means to get our own yeshus out of the way, right? To get our own motivations where we're sort of like dragged downward into our own wants and needs, and away from upward from our avodah, what we're supposed to be doing in the world, that we're here for a mission, not for our own motivations. How do you do that? Says the Rebbe, hispodidus. What kind of hispodidus? This threefold, very particular kind of hispodidus, which is bittul in olam, bittul in shana, bittul in nefesh. Bittul in olam means that a person does it outside of the city limits, where people don't necessarily walk during the day, and therefore the makom has not yet been tainted. Bittul shana means a person does it at night, right, when most of the world is sleeping, or most of the world is nullified from their their asek of olam hazeh, and bittul benefesh is that a person picks one particular midah they really want to work on, and they come back again and again and again, and yeah, they speak to Hashem about it, they talk through the inyan, but then more than that, they daven, just in a very pure, simple way, very simple. Doesn't have to be like a big complicated thing with lots of poetry and a big lecture. Just very basic. Hashem, please help me. I really want to be Ma'avatal, say persons work on Tav Sechila. I want to work on this. Hashem, please help me. I can't do this alone. And then use whatever Mamar Chazal you have in your head. Gemara and Kedushin, Aflamid, right? Chol Yom Yom Yitzur Shel Adam Iskaber Lav. Right? Every day the Yitzhar of a person gets stronger. If Hashem wouldn't help him, there'd be no choice. You say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your own Tzaddikim, your own Chazal said that I have no shot without you. Right? So please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help me. Right? The only way that I can do this with you. And when a person does that, in this way, at this time, at this place, bittul, right? You enter into an alternate reality, which is completely divorced from the noise of this worldliness. Then a person can be zechus to get to bittul. When a person's in bittul, then they're the bechina of mechuyev hametzius, because then they're mamish living for the reason that they were sent to the world. Right? Parenthetically, Rebbe Nachman in Likutei explains it. Hispodidus is the highest possible avodah because it's the most precise form of avodas Hashem. It's just the simplest and the most direct and the clearest and the most intense. Because literally, Kala Tarakula is just trying to get a person to Spodidus, right? It's just trying to get a person to such emunah where they can mamish speak to Hashem, like Hashem actually exists. That's the Kol Sepa emunah that Rebbe says in Tehillim, and Rebbe Nachman puts this idea, the pasuk in Tehillim, that all of the mitzvahs are for the sake of emunah, together with Bacham Bakuk ve'amidan al Achas Tzadik ve'emunah siyichya. Habakkuk came, distilled the whole Torah down to one principle. What was that principle? Emunah. That's the whole purpose of the Torah, is emunah. What's the most accurate, acute form of emunah? Is to go out in the middle of your day, right? Or like we're learning here, maybe late at night, but then it gets complicated because there are conflicting elements. I also want to do chatzos, and I also want to get up in the morning, and I also want to, so a person has to negotiate all the various avodas. A person can't do everything, obviously, and a person has to know for themselves what they need when, right? But this kind of avodah, when a person is mamish, away from the world, talking to Hashem, like the pasuk says about Moshe Rabbeinu, that Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, kedaber ish l're'ehu, like a person speaks to his friend. So over here, it might not be Hashem speaking to us, although sometimes you can pick up right on the residual archais or the reflection of what we're putting out. But it's us speaking to Hashem like a friend. B'tzuras melech boy, the King HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our friend, and speaking to him in a simple way. It's such a pashat avodah. I'm going to give a shir later on the topic. It's the bechina of matzah, not chametz. Matzah. It's very, very simple. So you don't have to. There's no complications about it. It's literally the simplest, most intuitive thing to do. There's a creator who created me. He probably wants me to talk to him. He probably wants me to communicate with him. He probably wants me to allow him into my life, to make it clear with an anchoring every single day that I can't do anything without him. And that he's real to me. Like, it's the most direct form of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the bechina of Ne'ilah, right? Where this avodah that Rebbe Nachman is bringing to the world at the very end of time, it's the pinnacle of Yiddishkeit. It's the pinnacle of Avodas Hashem. We become children again. We speak so often about childlike. We spoke in Uman, finding our Avedas, right? It's a childlike avodah. It's very, very pasha, very humble. It's like matzah. It's very flat and simple and basic. But it's the deepest. The Rebbe says in Torah, Chav Hey, the 25th teaching in Tinyana, which we'll get to one day, but it's just Hashem. I'll just read you the first line of it now. That's like another major Spoididus Torah Chav Hey. And the Rebbe has this wild lashon, just the first line. His Spoididus hu mala el yoina. His Spoididus is an incredible mala, incredibly amazing thing to do. Gedalyah min hakol, and it is greater than anything. Greater than anything. And Rav Nosson in Likutei Halachos goes so far as he speaks about in Hilchos Rosh Chodesh tefillah that's below Torah, and then there's tefillah that's above Torah. His spoidedus, if done properly, is a higher avodah than Torah. Elsewhere, Rebbe Nachman writes, Torah is really beautiful and important, but a connection to and relationship to Torah sometimes will help a person only when they feel connected. If a person doesn't have shaykhs to tefillah, then the minute that they hit some bumpy roads, they sleep in a little bit late, they miss the daf, and then it's hard to get back into it, and then they're finished. But if you have a chod kavua of this every day, however long that is, meaning you've already committed yourself to talk out everything you're going through with Hashem, then a Yerida is not going to cause you to be mevatel espodidus, because that's what espodidus is for. Take your Yerida into espodidus. Rebbe Nachman says you'll never ever disconnect, because that's what espodidus is for. It's for times of disconnection. It's for times of connection. It's for the ups and the downs. It's not. There's no conditions in tefillah. Torah, there's conditions. Tefillas Ezra, l'Rashi Amar Malachal Saprachukai, right? Imtikablas Torah Mutav Gesundheit Lav Shamtek V'Ras. There are conditions for Torah. That's our Sinai. Harabayis Tefillah, Karav Hashem L'Chol Koira. On the contrary, Karav Hashem L'Nishbrei Leiv. Hashem is specifically close to the brokenhearted. And when we express ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Bodidus, then you're connected forever. L'Chol Asher Kru Ba'abes. That's right. Authentic crying out, right? No matter what we're going through. Says the Rebbe, that's what we learned yesterday, this is how a person's able to be mevatel themselves, be'emes. So at the very end of what we were learning, Rebbe Nachman was telling us, you have to go midah by midah. So let's just jump in there. It's 3 lines above the brackets in the small print. And a person needs to go ahead and be noiheg, what the Rebbe calls zman rav. It could take a long time. It doesn't happen in a day. It could take a long time. For some reason, in Avodas Hashem, we want to snap our fingers and things should happen that day. It doesn't work like that with dieting. It doesn't work like that with anything else. One day at a time, bit by bit, and then you see results over weeks, sometimes months. Like Avodas Hashem doesn't happen in a snap of a finger. Zman rav, bizman anal uvamakam anal. You don't see results in a week. It's beseder. It doesn't mean it's not working. It's cumulative. Go back and explode this every day. Until bit by bit you see how you're anchored. Hispodidus. That's the Rebbe's eitzah. So for me personally, I took very strong, like I mentioned, some of the Chava from Uman this year. This trip. Very, very strong. It's one of the most basic eitzahs of the Rebbe. So you have to do it every day. You have to do it properly every day. Consistency every single day. So then the Rebbe says, but there's still something left. Then you're mevatel that too. Until there's nothing left. Says Rebbe Nachman Pirish, what could be left after you've nullified all of your midas rice? Right? Imagine a person is mevatel everything. So what did the Rebbe mean when he says, and after you've did mevatel everything, there's still something left? What's left? Says Rebbe Nachman Pirish, ki yachal liyas achash abito kol hatayvus midas rice. After a person goes ahead and is mevatel all of their midas rice through his spodidus, it's incredible. It's free. You don't even have to pay for it. It's a free therapy set. It's a beyond set therapy. Your mom is talking to the only one who can help you. It's totally free. It's crazy. It's a mamish. You don't pay a penny. You go out to the field. You walk around. Hendon Park doesn't charge you admission. You walk around over there. You speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your own words, and you leave, and your whole world is brightened. It's just a gevalt. It's unbelievable. So says Rebbe Nachman, yeah, you went and you were mevatel all of your tavis and midas rice, but adayin nishar mimenu klum. But there could still be something left. It can be that a person has not yet merited to nullify their sense of arrogance, which is the result of being mevatel all your midas rice, right? And because a person looks back and they feel that, wow, look at me. I really reached such a high madrega. I've been doing spodidus for this amount of time, and I was zochet to overcome that midah and overcome that. I'm really mekushet Hashem. That's gaiva. So he's considered, well, I'm something. I'm something special. And I'll go back to his spodidus, more his spodidus on that nekuda. until a person is mamish klum shu bechinas ma be'emes, which is the bechina of like Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron said, "V'anachnu ma kisalinu aleinu." We are ma. What are you arguing with us for? We didn't say anything. Hashem said something. We don't exist. We're trying to be Mekayim Ratzon Hashem. We're trying to say the truth as we see it. What are you attacking me for? You're not attacking me. Rebbe Nachman says in Sichas Ran, anybody who attacks that tzaddik is not attacking us, he's attacking Hashem. He just is ashamed to go against Hashem. He goes against the tzaddik who's trying to say something real. He's not arguing with the tzaddik. He's arguing with Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu is ma. Until a person is eicha to bechinas ma, to bechina bittul, and of course, like I heard from my Rebbe, Tzvichesh and Shlita ma is Rosh Tevis mechuyev hametzias. So you have to go and be mevatel and mevatel and mevatel ad shalo yishar mimenu klum, until you're mevutel in such a way sheyeh bechinas ma be'emes, until you become ma mechuyev hametzias. Then you're real. Then you're mamish real. Then you're matzah. There's no part of your life that's outside the boundary of your avodah. Again, doesn't mean you're perfect, because a person's not perfect. A person's not an angel. A person's a person. But it means, like we said in Uman, you're constantly b'darchei tshuva, bein b'ratzah, bein b'shoy, hispodedus chazak every day. Hispodedus chazak. Bein b'ratzah, bein b'shoy. The high moments, the low moments, you bring it back into dialogue with Hashem. Your life is a real life because it keeps you honest. Throughout the rest of your day, you're always thinking that you're going back to the consciousness of Hispodedus, where you've already made it clear for an hour. Imagine that, an hour a day. Let's say if a person is zocheh to do an hour a day. So then you've just revealed your essential self. And you've anchored yourself in that. It's much easier to go back to that later on in the day where you encounter situations. You say, from the standpoint of Hispodedus, this is not something to get agitated about. This is not something, where's my Hispodedus mind? You've devoted a significant portion of your day to living already in Olam Haba, to living already in total, utter clarity, to remove from your heart all of the distractions and you've spent an hour with Hashem. Imagine that. Sometimes we speak about Kirvas Hashem as if it's some kind of elusive thing. You have to somehow engineer closeness to God. It's very simple. Just be close to God. In other words, spend time with Him. That's closeness, right? Obviously, speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Be in dialogue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Kirvas Elokim. Again, kipshutai, without skulas and on all kinds of somersaults. Very simple. Go and be close to Hashem. What do you mean be close to Hashem? Talk to Him. Go and talk to Hashem. It's so simple. And that's what struck me very strongly as we were learning in Uman. Uman was very hard for me, I have to tell you, I was it's very, sometimes the Rebbe Nachman can come down very hard on you. It's like a harsh energy. The Rebbe wasn't all cuddles. The Rebbe was emes. The Rebbe was Chava emes. And you can get hit in Uman. It's good. It's beautiful. It's part of the Rebbe's love. It's part of its tzaddik. You can get clobbered. You can get, petch. And the petch is, like I was saying in Shir from Chaim Yehoshua, the Rebbe pities two people. He pities people who don't know about him, right, and his Torah and his world. And he pities people who know about him and don't do his zechus. Pities them. He pities people who spend 2 weeks learning about clapping during davening. They don't clap during davening. What kind of idiocy is that? Forgive me. What kind of shtus? What do you think this is entertaining? What is this? What do you think we're learning this for? Is to do it, obviously. What else? What are we doing here? Learning about Hispodedus that we don't do Hispodedus at. Again, I'm speaking to myself. Yeah, I did Hispodedus, haphazardly here and there. A little bit, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes there. I'm driving in the car. Okay, the Rebbe says, listen, you idiot. I'm telling to myself, it's an hour Hispodedus every day. So I tried to negotiate him down to half hour. No, because in a moment of emes, by the tzion, do an hour. Because the Rebbe said to do an hour. What kind of game are you trying to play? And then you come, I'm speaking literally to myself. I'm just telling you my inner dialogue at the Rebbe, right? It's and then you come complaining that you have this issue and that. You're not doing the eitzes. So what do you want? I'm ashamed to say. I'm not ashamed to say. It's human. I'm just sharing with you, all for good reasons. I have so many things to do, and I'm trying to reach Yidden. And I promise you, I could give you every excuse in the book, and they're good excuses. There, I'm not wasting my time. No, you're not better than anybody else. You're not different than anybody else. The great Breslover Mashpiyim also had a lot of people to reach and a lot of things to do in the world. Our spoke to this every day, no exceptions. That was for me. That was the message that I got. We'll see how long it lasts. It's been 2 days. It's a hard thing to do. Did you
say an hour?
An hour. Shah spoke to this. Which I must say, in previous years, I've been teaching that sometime every day, not because I'm saying that, but because I asked this very question to Rabbi Ya'akov, and that's what he told me. He said, it doesn't have to be shah dafka if you only have it, but that's an excuse. Because what do you mean? Yes, you can find an hour in your day. What will it require you to do? Watch a little bit less YouTube, get off TikTok and, and stop flipping through people's WhatsApp status. You know what I'm saying? You can find, if you wanted to do it, you could do it. Yeah, an hour, full hour. That's what the man said. I'm just telling you what the Rebbe said. Shah achas. The rest of our Hasidim would say, Yafa Shah Achas. Shuva Ma'asim Tovim Alam Mikol Chai Olam Haba. They would say that Shah Achas is a spodidus. That's Shuva Ma'asim Tovim. That it's more beautiful than anything. It's more simple than anything. You want to talk about Anivos Bittul. It's that. You go out and nobody's patting you on the back. It's Kirvas Alikim. Bani Kirvas Alikim Litoy. So that's what we're learning here. No coincidence for me. It came back for Rubani, jump back into this Torah. That's the sugya that we're in. So to do the eitzes, otherwise it's Rachmanas. Just as much Rachmanas than us, anybody else who never encountered the derech of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, which is for our generation. It's a nebuch. We got to do the eitzes. So says the Rebbe, when you do that, Gewalt, you're real. You become real. You become real, your whole life becomes more real. It's wild what it does to your consciousness. It shifts your whole, and you're suspending, again, a significant portion of time in a radically different state of mind. And your life begins to change. Bit by bit, your life begins to change. Because you spend an hour being totally honest and real. Gesund and stark. Like with the Ein Sof who knows everything anyway. There's nothing to hide from him. There's no one to impress. So even if you're sitting with a therapist, there could be a manipulative element where you're trying to like, over here it's emes lamitoy. Bittul be'emes. You become chuyev hametzius. You are living a real life. Then everything you touch is real. There's no doifi. There's no shtiot. Everything you touch is real. And the Mechuyev HaMetzias is extended through you, Kiviyachol, to the whole world, and everything becomes Mechuyev HaMetzias. Just tell you a fascinating thing. Might be one of my favorite pieces from Likutei Moharan. Though I have many, but this is Kaval. Rebbe Nachman writes in Hilchos Arbis Dalid. I believe it's Dalid. It could be Gimel, but I think it's Dalid. He goes on this Torah and Beis. Very, very beautiful. Lays out the whole thing over there. Tremendous clarity. Kedarka b'kodesh. Highly recommended to look it up. It's not super long. It's 4 pages or so. It's not a very long halacha. Highly, highly recommended to see it inside. And Rebbe Nachman sets up the aspect of Mechuyev HaMetzias, Yisrael, and then the Olam / Umas Olam, in the context of Avraham, Yitzchak, Ya'akov, where you have Avraham and Yitzchak, who have produced Yishmael and Esav, respectively. That's not Mechuyev HaMetzias. Then you have Yaakov Avinu, who is Mamash the Bechina Mechuyev HaMetzias, even though Yaakov Avinu comes sort of later than them, but it's just a Giloi of Bishvil Yisrael Shenikru Reishis, right? It's a revelation of that which is Kadon, that which comes prior. See, he says, now that we've put that construct of the Mechuyev HaMetzias, of Sharia HaMetzias, excuse me, in the context of Tefillah, he says, now you can understand, it's unbelievably deep. Why the Gemara tells us, Medina the Gemara, although we accepted it on ourselves later on, that only Shachris and Mincha are Chiyuv, and Arvis is Rishus. So he says in the context that we're learning, he says, only Yaakov Avinu is able to be Mamish Rishus. Because the true Bechira in whether to create or not to create, right, in that primordial way, from the standpoint of creation, was in Klal Yisrael. Only Klal Yisrael tasted what it means to be either Efshari HaMetzias or Mechuyev HaMetzias. Memela, Mariv, which is Keneged Yaakov Avinu, is a Rishus. Tfilas Arvis Rishus, because Klal Yisrael stand at that point of Bechira, of God's choosing. Once Hashem chooses us, and everything else becomes Mechuyev HaMetzias for us. Memela, Shachris and Mincha are Chiyuv. Because Shachris and Mincha is the Bechina of Avraham and Yitzchak, of Yishmael and Esau. It's the Goyinus. Arvis is Rishus, Bechinas Efshari HaMetzias. You could do it, you could not do it. But then the minute that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses, which we chose, which is itself very deep, to make Arvis Chiyuv, like we did it, right? Because it's really on us. We're the ones who are being Megaladas L'Mafreya, whether or not HaKadosh Baruch Hu's choice was real or not real based on the way that we live, like we explained at length. So then we make Marav Chiyuv, and then Shachris and Mincha are already always Chiyuv. There's never a moment where Shachris and Mincha is a Rishus, because it all depends on us. The true Bechira is on us and in us. Our Bechira shakes the world. We have a Bechina of Yechida de Nefesh. We're connected to the apex of the world, and our choices make a super humongous difference. Shnu Ayz Lilikin. We're the ones who are going to add tremendous, tremendous, tremendous meaning and tremendous significance to the world if we choose to live it in a conscious, plugged-in way. And this is why Yidden, generally speaking, also I had some students yesterday, generally speaking, there's something about Yidden. We have this drive. Yidden are very, very restless people. You can probably explain it in a certain sense, in some kind of sociological way, given our experience in Galus and being driven from place to place and the anxiety of it. That's true, but spiritually speaking, it's much deeper. Spiritually speaking, it's much deeper. You didn't always want more. We are always striving after the absolute. We are always striving after that which cannot be attained. This world is never going to give us all of what we're looking for. But you didn't have this tchunas hanefesh. We're an amkshe oirif. We're stubbornly, brazenly trying to bring about a metzius in the world that lo haya v'lo nivra. And we want to bring it into being. We, by virtue of our choices, and Hashem has consistently put us at the center of the human story. Especially today, we're coming to the very end, like we say so often. Right now, Klal Yisrael in the Israeli iteration is mamish front and center. The whole world is looking at us. Our choices matter hugely, right? For the whole world, for the security of the whole, for the future of the whole world. This is the battle. It is a battle. It isn't like a mythic battle, like people make it like, the Jews have some dimion of some mythic battle. When you're fighting an enemy that also has a mythic thing, it becomes very real, right? Because two mythologies are gonna conflict. It has very real impacts in the real world. Whether you believe it or not believe it, this is a thing that's going on. There are two very different ways of approaching the world, humanity, and what the future of planet Earth should look like. They're extremely real. That side is very real. Our side is very real. And yeah, there's going to be a very real conflict. Has to be. And the conflict needs to be waged with strategies. Surmira, asetav, the appropriate consciousness, with the appropriate attitudes, with the appropriate midos, with the appropriate birur, with appropriate gravity, and gravitas, v'chulei, like we've spoken about so often toward the beginning of the series. But it's on us. We're going to make the world mechuyev hametzias. V'azai, says the Eiliger Rebbe, kishezeichel bittul be'emes, when a person arrives at bittul be'emes, v'azai nichlol nafsh b'sharshay dahainu bo yizbarach, then you're literally nichlol in Hashem, and you get to that saga like we learned in previous Torahs. Maybe it was Memches. Yeah. a person gets to the asaga that the words of Hisbodedus that you're speaking are Hashem's words, like we learned from Torah Kuf and Vav. Lecha amar libi bakshu panai b'shlichuscha. My heart and the words that I'm pouring forth are b'china v'ruach HaKodesh. The insights that you get out of Hisbodedus, ma'avil al Ryan. And I can't speak for anybody else because I don't know anybody else's Hisbodedus, but I imagine it's universal. The insights all of a sudden you start talking out what's going on for you. You start really probing, and it's incredible in the loving compassionate presence of the Ein Sof, like we learned in a previous Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting for us. Then you realize the words that you're saying are boire, like Rebbe Nachman says, Likutei is boire nivs v'sayim. Hashem is creating those words yesh me'ayin. And then you're a spark of Elikus talking to Elikus. And then all of a sudden, you're bittul, you're mevutal. This is all there is. This is all there is. It was worth bringing the whole world into being with the billions and billions of people for however many thousands or millions of years, whatever it is. It was worth it for this moment of me, the b'shvili nivra olam, and connecting to my Creator. In the simplest, most direct way. And that's bittul. In that moment, there's bittul. Because if you had it your way, you would never leave Hisbodedus. If you had it your way, this would be your life. Because what's more sweet and delicious than a nivra connecting to Bayrei? What's more beautiful than that? And it could be dibur, it could be silence, it could be singing, it could be, again, Hisbodedus is sugya. What happens if a person comes to Hisbodedus and can't think of any words to say? Right? Our techniques. 2 techniques just off the bat. Rebbe Nachman says later in that Torah in Chafei, number 1, daven about that. Beg Hashem to give you the words and turn that into a tefillah. That's also something you ought to speak to Hashem about. Number 2, find a mantra. Find an expression, that means something to you. Ein olam avadai, ribono shel olam, avinu malkeinu, and just repeat those words again and again and again. That can also be, and then from there you can extrapolate. And minei obey, what does Avinu mean to me? What does Malkeinu mean to me? Hashem, how can I connect to you? Through what's ein oid milvade? Like what is that? What's the avoida there? Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, can you help me with that avoida? What are my blockages? Can I look at those blockages? Yishavat liyashiv the mind. That's bittul. You become batal mevutal into the mechuyev ametzias, like we said, b'chinas ma. Azai, in that moment, nichlo kala olam Menashe b'sharshay shu mechuyev ametzias. Your whole world becomes seen through the eyes of a person who's mechuyev ametzias. Everything becomes mechuyev ametzias. Now you're living in a real world. The tzaddikim that didn't eat anything extra, they didn't say any extra words. Their life was mamish essential. Tzaddik oichel l'sei v'nafshay. By them, everything was mechuyev. Every act was intentional. Every minute was guarded. Their world was not efshari ametzias. How am I going to kill the next hour? Like, there's a kill time. I can kill time this way. I can kill time. There's many ways to kill. The tzaddikim didn't have time to kill because their time was alive. Their time was alive, mamish alive. Every minute was mamish. Now again, it doesn't have to be super intense. If a person needs to take time to relax, right, and breathe a little bit, that's also but that's not. It's not meaning that it's intentional. That's the point. You can be always intentional. To always be super intensely working it might not be even a good equation from the standpoint of efficacy, even though it might look like it would be better to churn 24/7. Usually Hashem didn't create the body for, that way. That there has to be dialogue between the body and the mind, right, to figure out what's healthy, what's not healthy, and if it's too much, the body will make you sick and let you know that it's not, so, but intentional, you could always be 24/7. Intentional. Not with bewilderment, with anxiety. What's the word? Stress. Not to calmly, but intentionally. The tzaddikim were this on the ultimate darga. Every minute by them, everything they encountered, every person that they spoke to, every decision they made. Why? Because they were choosing Torah. Torah is kedusha. Kedusha. Right? They were literally swimming in an ocean of Elokus. The world was very real for them. Now that same world experienced by the guy sitting next to them is Mamash Efkeris land. What do they care about the chilik between the kedusha of Harabayis and the tuma of Krach Kadosh Avraham? To them, everything's a Shariah. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. They're not living in a narrative of kedusha, and they're not living in a world of meaning. So to them, the world is Efshari HaMetzias. And then, like I said earlier, they take that experience of Efshari HaMetzias and Hagufa, they make that Mechuyev HaMetzias, meaning they say, this is the way that it's always ever been. This is the true reality, excuse me, which is a reality of Efshari. The mistake that the world makes, that the Rebbe began with, that this world is Mechuyev HaMetzias, doesn't mean that they take the world very seriously. They cemented into Mechuyev HaMetzias this dimion of Efshari HaMetzias. And it becomes so clear to them that they say, okay, this is mamash, all there is. It's just a world of chaos, just a world of meaninglessness, just a world of absurdity. Comes along Klal Yisrael and says, Lehebech. This world can be Mechuyev HaMetzias, but the Mechuyev HaMetzias is in a narrative of infinite, eternal meaning and truth. That's the way that tzaddikim lived. So the whole world became nichlal in nafshe b'sharshi shu mechuyev hametzias k'akol toli boi kaniska le'el. Everything's tali on our bechira. Everything's tali on the bechira of Hashem in Klal Yisrael, and each of our bechira. This is also the side Rebbe Nachman goes into over there. Hutner also speaks about it, I believe, in Pachad Yitzchak and Chanukah. In Chanukah is Tess, I believe. Klal Yisrael chose to receive the Torah. The Umas Olam didn't choose to receive the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. It was put upon them. And he goes very deeply into this. I'm not sure if it's Rebbe Nachman there or Hutner. Could be both of them mention this. Rebbe Hutner for sure mentions this. I don't know if Rebbe Nachman mentions it in that piece. Klal Yisrael are shaykh to Bechir. We emerge from the point of the Bechir of Hashem. We live in a world very viscerally presented to us through our tradition of Bechira every minute. And the whole world is telling us. Tfilas Arvis Rishus. We are the dawn of reality. We are that point of Yisrael. Alu b'machshavat chila. Everything else is mechuyev. Everything else is mechuyev hametzias. The nations of the world don't get to choose the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. It's programmed. Now, each one of them individually can choose within their Geder, even though there's some controversy about that also. But my personal take, just from experience, I think, is that every guy has Bechira, right? Otherwise, like, what's the tachlis? There can be Chasidi Umas Olam, they're not programmed, and we have a mission to try to influence the world, like Avraham Avinu, Al Tikr B'Yikra L'Bayakri. Right? If they didn't have Bechira, so what's the point of that? If they're going to be tzaddik, they're going to be tzaddikim. If not, nah. That's one of the kashas, but it's a big sugya. But the point is, of course, an individual can choose, and that's our whole task in the world, to be an argayim, lagayim, right? To try to bring them close to Amunah Nachdusi Yisbarach, Vadai. But in a fundamental sense, their existence depends on whether we are existing as Yidden or whether we are existing as Goyim in Jewish bodies, chas v'shalom. Because if we're being what they are, then they carry on with their klipa of Chiyuv HaMetzias in a world that's totally meaningless. If we are living as we are and we refuse to give up on this narrative that we have, Torah, Moshe, Emes, v'Terasei, Emes. Yes, Tucker Carlson, there will be a third Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, you better believe we're fighting for that. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're not going to destroy any existing building that's already there. We daven for Mashiach, but of course that's what we want. That's not an Israeli Zion. This is what it means to be a Yid. We've been davening for that 1,500 years before Muhammad came to the 1,000 years, whatever it was, before Muhammad came to the scene, like long before anybody else has been saying anything else about anything. Now, only Jews, he has a problem with our ideology, right? And the fact that we're battling enemies that have an ideology, that's okay. They're allowed to have whatever ideology they want. Yidden chas v'shalom should never have an opinion. They still want to have their boot on our neck. They think we're in Gullus still. I mean, they think we're the same as we used to be. No. No, it's the end of the Elef Hashishi. We're becoming Jewish Jews, not British Jews or American Jews or Venezuelan Jews or French Jews. And the world has not encountered that for a very long time. Jewish Jews that make decisions based on our own priorities. Yeah, welcome to the world. Welcome to the world. And this is part of becoming Israel, right? Rising into a new identity as an Am in our nation, in our land. We have to shake off the dust. A lot of them have the struggle, dust, is because there are some who are a little bit further along and like have evolved and chapped that like it's different now, right? We are different. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing us back home, and we have to shake off the dust of Gullus and slowly but surely arise. Not that there's Geula on Eretz Yisrael, there's not yet, right? But it's a process. And those who are really still stuck in exilic ways of thinking, it can't be masig anything beyond that. That's Rachmanas, but that's just the way that it is. But the people who get it, get it. We want the third Beis HaMikdash. We want to be Yidden, 100%. We want to mamish be Yidden. Not Israelis like an Am K'chol Amim. No. We want to be Hein Am Levadad Yishkain because we're a priesthood nation. We have something to say to the world out of great love and compassion and dignity and morality, and that's what we want. And we're allowed to want that no less than any other nation has any other national, religious, or ethnic desires. They don't want us to have a say. Not only do we have to have a say, we have to have the say. And we have to rise up with true dignity, true Jewish dignity. Harim Keren Yisrael Amecha. Livshi Bigdei Sefartech Ami. To put on royal clothing. I'm a Ben Melech. Ben Melech. I can speak my mind. I can say what I want. I can say what I believe. I can say what I hold is true. Again, with great love, appreciation, compassion, desire for the whole world, the chule, but gvura, with that gvura, then the whole world becomes real. The whole world becomes mechuyev. Okay, now you're ready for one of the best drashas in the Likutei Moharan, like one of the best. This is next level. Says Rebbe Nachman, now come and see wonder of wonders. How everything that we just learned in Torah and Beis thus far is literally encoded in the Mishnah that we learned in the beginning. Let's read it again. This is the Mishnah that shows up at the beginning of Torah and Beis. Reb Chanina Mechanichai said, "Haneir balayla," a person who stays up at night. And a person who walks on their own path. And Al Pi Pshat, their heart turns toward Bittul Torah. They become mischayev. They become sort of responsible for their own life. Says Rebbe Nachman, he turns the whole Mishnah on its head. Says that tzaddik v'zeu haneir balayla, a person who stays up at night, kipshutai, ta'inashu neir balayla misboidin mafarish, yichasa bein lebein koinai, a person who stays up at night doing his spodados. So that's the bechina of shana, that's the bechina of zman, of bittul. And a person who walks b'derech yechidi, that he walks in a place, in a bechin of oilam, in makan, he walks in a place where there are no people. It's a derech yechidi. Because that's the primary shleimus of his spodidus balayla, u'b'derech yechidi, in a time of bittul, laila, and in a place of bittul, right? Makam yechidi, derech yechidi. Then a person can come to an experience of bittul mamish, bittul kipshutai. The whole world is null and void. A mamish. Yeah, you can do this through meditation, but you can also do this through spodis, and it's different. It's not meditation. It's a different avodah. It's a relational avodah. It's dir b'dachtainim avodah. Just a brief word on that. Meditation means I'm taking myself out of the world. I'm nullifying the world. And I'm like going away from the world. It's not dir b'tachtayim. It's a bechin of a ratzay. I'm running away. I'm rising up to the heavens. There's a place for that. We learned in Torah Daled, very important. We're going to learn in Torah Samach Daled, very important. Hisbodedus is not that. Hisbodedus is me with my kalim, with my humanity, with my stuff. I'm not nullifying anything, but I'm nullifying everything on account of me lifting all aspects of my lived experience into the light of the divine. I'm not escaping from the stuff into bittul. I'm holding all of my stuff and I'm either carrying it into bittul or bringing bittul down into it. Right? That's hisbodedus. It's very lived. You understand? It's very natural. I'm coming into bittul because I'm speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu about Ritzininu Lasser Tzinacha. But in that context, I'm speaking about all the different things in my life. So it has to be Oilam Shana, Derech Yichidi, in Oilam, Laila in Shana ki as daike chadim love the bechinas bittul k'niskala. Then you can come to bittul. So v'zeu, that's what the Mishnah says next. Umefana liboy, which is nefesh, livatola. Not that he's like being mevatel, Torah. He's thinking dvarim b'telim. No. Dainu shemafana liboy mikol isker l'mazeh livatola. And you're mevatel yourself. You went at night on a derech yichidi. Umefana liboy liva. Tala, you're bevatel the world. You mevatel your ratzon to Hashem. That was the purpose, is to come to bittul. Says the Rebbe, you know what happens next? Like we learned, then a person merits. Then your nefesh becomes nichlul and and then everything becomes included with you in the mechuyev hamitziyus, because you're the link. Says the Rebbe, good. Zehu harezeh mischayev b'nafshay. What did it mean on Pipshat? Mischayev b'nafshay meant you're responsible, you're guilty, right, for causing your own death, chas v'shalom, or so your own harm. Says the Rebbe, no, it's so much deeper. Now that you've achieved bittul in your nefesh, harezeh mischayev, you bring everything else into chiyav hamitziyus b'nafshay, along with your nefesh. This is Mashiach Torah. This is the same Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. This is Torah Da'atika Stima. Nobody else has been fired the Mishnah this way, because it's a new Gila, it's a brand new revelation. What's particularly significant here is that it literally goes in the opposite of Pashup Pshat, right? Pashup Pshat is don't you dare go out at night on your own derech, because this is gonna. And the Rebbe said, no, go out at night on your own derech. It's a wonderful thing. And I raise him as Chaya Miriam. This is a beautiful avodah. What's the truth? They're both right? The question is what you're going out at night for and why are you traveling alone. If you're going like Rav Chanina Mechanichai says al pipshat, so then mefana libel batala means a negative thing, and not only is it not a reason mischai benafsha in a positive sense, you're avshari and the whole world becomes avshari, and then anything's possible, right? Kipshutai. But if you do it like the Rebbe is saying it, so then it mamish means what he says. Hareza mischai benafsha shenichlo kol ha'olam bebechinas mechuyev hamitziyus im nafshay. The whole world will become included with your neshama in mechuyev hamitziyus ka'idei spoidedus haniskala el, because through a spoidedus zach lebechinas bittul, then a person achieves bittul hachanichlo nafshay b'mechuyev hamitziyus until the whole world becomes included in mechuyev hamitziyus. V'alidei zenichlo kol ha'olam nafshay b'mechuyev hamitziyus kaniskala el. Again, his nefesh is in mechuyev hamitziyus. All the worlds that are tali on him are mechuyev hamitziyus. Then you reveal the kedusha, you reveal the oneness, you reveal the einod malvadai on every level of reality in your own self, in your own life, in your own mind and heart, and in everything that you encounter around you. On account of having been mefana liboy levatala through his spoidedus haner balayla in the nighttime, and hamalach b'derech yichidi on your own path outside of the city. In bittul of olam and shana, and then nefesh, you reach bittul, then harisa mischayev b'nafshay. The following is a paragraph from the Kisvei Rabbeinu where he wrote this out in short term, in shorthand. Commenting on the Mishnah that we learned, we'll read this very quickly. The main bittul that a person is able to nullify their yeshus and enter into a state of ayin and literally reveal. It is not through meditation. It is not through psychedelics. It is not. Those things might be necessary and holy in the right context of Chule. But that's not what it is. The main thing is his spodidus. That's what the Rebbe wanted. That's what it doesn't seem as shining and exotic, and his spodidus. Matzah, basic, simple, childlike. Einai Ella. His spodidus, at least in this way, of course, again, there's no real boundaries, but in this context, needs to be in a special time and a special place, so that the energies that are distracting should not bewilder him, should not distract him. What's the time and what's the place? Hazman u'balayla, and the place is Derech Yichidi. Says the Rebbe, that's pshat in the Mishnah. Again, Haneir Balayla, Sha'azakol Yeshena, when everybody's sleeping, Va'makam Derech Yichidi, V'ler B'derech Harabim, go find your own place where people don't walk during the day. So you shouldn't be, here he uses something like similar, something more on a pshat level. Just basically, you shouldn't be disturbed by people walking around. Go to a place where you'll be alone. Go over there and be alone with Hashem. Then you spend time on your own path of then you can empty your heart. Then you bring all of your yeshus and you mevatel it in the context of expressing your ratzon tov to Hashem. Then you turn your heart to bittul. When a person is totally mevutal, you become nichlal in achdusa yisbarach. Then you enter into the geder of mechuyev. You become super real. You're megaladas lamafreya, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu's choice to create you wasn't just a free choice, an arbitrary choice. It was mamish from atzmusa yisbarach. You're megaladat. You are megaladat lamafreya by making choices in tahara. That's megaladas lamafreya, that Hashem's choice in tahara was kedusha all along, and that mamish you become literally not just important or real. You become as important, as real as elikus, because you then realize that you yourself are a gilui elikus, and as much as your choices are revealing Hashem's presence and not concealing Hashem's presence, like we learned at length. Then what happens? When you become nichlal, and then you become nichlal, and the Rebbe doesn't add that extra element of the whole world becomes mechuyev, but like we learned from the main part of Torah and Beis, not only does your nefesh become included in mechuyev ametzias, but hareze mischayev, you bring everything else into chiyev ametzias benafshe. Hadra alach Torah and Beis, and Hadra chalan ashreinu matay chalkeinu. Torah and Gimel tomorrow, but Ezra Hashem is Torah and Beis. The main thing covers the Eitzah. The Eitzah, Hashem should help us be the kind of Eitzah. The Pshuta, Tzmimas of Shitas. Chaim.
It's right. The difference between not for now.
Oh yeah.
Yehudis and Faygas. This is a form. I suppose this is a form of Faygas. It's an experience in Beis.
ואתה האב שלי שכל כך אוהב אותי, האב שלי מלך חי וקיים על כל נשימה שאני